It all started with a single notification. Soft, familiar ding that pulled Olivia's attention away from her book. Her husband, Ryan, sat across the living room, staring at his phone, a faint smile flickering on his lips. Olivia didn't think much of it at first. After all, they'd both been glued to their devices more than usual lately. Life was busy, and the quiet evenings felt like an escape from everything, or so she thought. That smile, the one he wasn't sharing with her, stayed with her long after the sound of the notification faded. It wasn't a smile of amusement or even absent-minded joy. It was private, intimate in a way she hadn't seen directed toward her in months. The first time she noticed it, she pushed the thought aside. Don't overthink it, Liv. You're just being paranoid. But the feeling nagged at her, its grip tightening with every late-night scroll of his phone. Every time he angled the screen just slightly away from her view. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there. Weeks passed, and Ryan's behavior became harder to ignore. He'd laugh softly at messages when he thought she wasn't looking. His phone, once casually left on the kitchen counter or bedside table, was now glued to his side. Always locked, always hidden. Olivia's unease turned into quiet suspicion. She started to notice patterns. He'd get a message late at night, claim it was work, and excuse himself to the bathroom. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and he'd return with a sheepish smile and a flimsy excuse. One night, while Ryan slept, his phone buzzed again. Olivia froze. It was past midnight, and the sound was louder in the stillness of the room. The screen lit up just long enough for her to see a name. Melanie. She didn't know any Melanie. Her heart pounded. She stared at the phone as if it might whisper the truth to her if she focused hard enough, but it stayed silent, like Ryan, who was snoring softly beside her. For days, Olivia tried to rationalize what she'd seen. She wanted to trust him, but something inside her begged for answers. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. She waited for the perfect moment. A day when Ryan left his phone on the counter while he stepped into the shower. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. The lock screen mocked her. 4 digits, a simple barrier between her and the truth. She almost put it down. Almost. But then, out of sheer desperation, she tried their anniversary date. It unlocked. Her stomach dropped as she scrolled through his messages. The thread with Melanie wasn't buried. It was right there, bold and glaring. She tapped it, and her world shattered. Messages weren't overtly explicit, but they didn't need to be. There was intimacy in their words, inside jokes she didn't understand, and a warmth she hadn't felt from Ryan in months. The final blow was a picture. Melanie, laughing in a dimly lit cafe, her hand resting under her chin, her eyes sparkling in a way Olivia hadn't seen directed at her for years. She set the phone down, her mind racing. Who was Melanie? How had this started? Was it just messages, or was there more? Ryan's shower stopped, and Olivia scrambled to put the phone back. When he walked into the room, toweling his hair, she smiled like nothing had happened, but inside, she was unraveling. That night, Olivia created her own secret. She downloaded an app that let her clone his phone. Every message he sent, every notification he received, was mirrored to her device. She told herself it was for closure, to understand what was really going on. But as the days turned into weeks, she found herself falling into a dark spiral. Every time she saw Melanie's name, every flirty emoji, every late night thinking of you text, it was like another knife in her chest. Then came the sex. It started innocently enough, if such things could ever be called innocent. Teasing comment here, a playful suggestion there. But soon, their messages grew bolder, more graphic. Olivia read every word in horrified detail. Each message a betrayal. Each picture a slap to the face. She couldn't look at Ryan without seeing the man he was with Melanie. A man she didn't recognize. A man who had nothing to hide with this stranger, but everything to hide from her. But Olivia wasn't the type to confront things head on. Not yet. She needed more. She needed proof. One night, she followed him. He'd told her he was meeting an old friend from work. But Olivia knew better. She'd seen the messages, the plans he and Melanie had made to meet in person for the first time. Her heart raced as she trailed his car to a downtown bar. He parked 2 blocks away, her hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. When she finally walked into the bar, she saw them. Ryan and Melanie. She was even more beautiful in person. All elegant, with a laugh that seemed to light up the room. Ryan leaned in close, their heads nearly touching, his hand resting on her arm in a way that felt far too familiar. Olivia didn't confront them. Not then. She left the bar, her vision blurred with tears, her mind a storm of anger and heartbreak. She wasn't done. Next morning, she sent him a single text. "We need to talk." When he came home, Olivia was waiting, her laptop open to the cloned messages. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She simply asked him why. Why had he chosen Melanie? Why had he turned to someone else instead of fixing what was broken between them? Ryan's face crumbled as the truth spilled out. He admitted to the messages, the sexts, the meeting at the bar. He swore it hadn't gone any further, that it was a fantasy, an escape from the stress of their lives. Begged for forgiveness, promising to cut ties with Melanie and focus on their marriage. But Olivia wasn't sure if she could forgive him. Damage was done, the trust shattered. She didn't know if they could rebuild what had been lost, or if she even wanted to. And so, she told him she needed time to figure out if their love was worth salvaging. Time to decide if she could live with the ghost of Melanie haunting their relationship. As Ryan packed a bag and left the house that night, Olivia sat in silence, staring at her own reflection in the dark screen of her phone, a device that had brought them closer to strangers and further from each other. It was in that moment she realized betrayal wasn't just about Ryan and Melanie. It was about the lies they told themselves, the boundaries they ignored, and the lives they hid behind glowing screens.